Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Weekend Academy. And this is our special chat with an entrepreneur, Bridgewalker. And today I have a business strategist with me. So you are in for a treat. Her name is Richa Jain, and she lives in India. And I'm recording this as I am in India. So how cool is that? Welcome, Richa. Thank you for joining us here today. Tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do.
Thank you for having me on today, Manasi. Okay, my work is all about helping women turn their passion, their purpose into a profitable online business.
I love it.
We do similar work. It's just in different ways.
So you are a business strategist. I read on your website that you also do some web development. Right? So how do you take people from taking their passion to online business? Like what goes in the middle? Tell us more about your work.
So I cover the entire range. I hold their hand through the entire process. We start off with the strategy. What do they need to do to get started and to grow? Okay, figuring out their ideal clients, figuring out how to package their services, figuring out how to market themselves. And to support all of that, I help them with the tech part of it as well. That's setting up their website, setting up all the back-end stuff. Because my background used to be in corporate tech, in semiconductor software for over 20 years. And now what's left of it is I help them set up the back end of their business as well.
That's interesting. So you said your background was in technology. So how did you go from doing that job to where you are today?
A long story. I used to be in semiconductor software for over 20 years. My last position was as an engineering manager at NVIDIA. Anyone in tech has heard of NVIDIA.
Yes.
And a lot of things happened in my life. I felt like I'd hit the glass ceiling at work, that I was having to struggle too much, firefight too much. My work was all about firefighting. I'd come in every day and handle issues that someone created in Taiwan, in Korea, in the US. And it wasn't, as an engineer, I used to have to fix bugs, but as a manager, I was constantly having to put out fires because of the way the company was structured, because the way we worked. Not real fires, but messes, cleaning up other people's messes. And I wanted to spend my time and energy creating goodness rather than cleaning up messes. Plus, there were other things happening in my life. I was in an abusive marriage at that time. And I figured that in India, you don't leave your husband. A marriage is fine. I figured the only way he'd leave me is if I quit my job and stopped bringing home that income. Yes. And I wanted to spend more time with my son. Daycares out here usually have kids max till age 5 or 6. Beyond that, once he got into first standard, I knew I didn't have any support. There wasn't a daycare I could send him to. So all of those things came together. And in 2014, I quit my job. And I started doing out what was the easiest thing for me. I started writing. I was really good at writing and had a blog for like forever. I used to run a mommy blog for like 6-7 years. And I started tech writing. I started freelance tech writing and copywriting. Okay? And let me share this journey because I'm sure that many of your people who are Bridgewalkers who want to make this transition would find it interesting.
Absolutely.
I started doing what I could do with my eyes closed or with my brain switched off. Tech writing. I loved writing, I loved tech, and I had a way of translating it into the easiest way possible. And I would get up at 4 and 5 a.m. every morning, write technical articles for Udemy, for Lifehacker, and a whole lot of clients about coding and technology, and then go to work at 7 a.m. 7 a.m., get my son up, get him ready for school, drop him off, go to work, and come back. I did that for about 6 months.
Wow.
It was making enough to match my day job's income. And then I quit my job. And a few days later, Udemy, which was my biggest client at that time, and I was making like $4,000 from Udemy a month, they decided that they're not going to follow that SEO tactic. And they 2 days notice and it was gone.
Oh my goodness.
So then I joined other programs to help me grow my business. And I saw people, now I'd been working with WordPress on my mommy blog and I'd been helping friends with their blogs. So when I joined these business building programs, I saw people struggling with their website and creating websites that I knew were crappy because I had learned about conversions and user experience and web analytics and all of that. So I started helping people with their website. Okay, that's how I got started in web design. This was, again, late 2014. And when I worked with them on their website, I was helping them so much through, streamlining their business strategy and figuring out their target markets and figuring out how to package stuff and those things that clients started asking me for strategy sessions. So I did copywriting, I did web design, and now I focus on strategy. But I haven't let go of all the earlier stuff. I incorporate that in my work. I help clients review their copy, review their website, build their websites, and I bring it all together.
So this is amazing because a lot of entrepreneurs go through this journey of starting with something and then evolving with their clients. But exactly. A lot of times before you jump into entrepreneurship, you think you have to have everything sorted out.
You don't. Right? You don't.
Exactly.
I don't know a single entrepreneur who had everything sorted out when they started. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's a journey of learning to trust the process, go with the flow.
Exactly.
Just evolving, just growing, allowing yourself to grow.
Absolutely.
Whether it's about your target market, whether it's about your packages, your services, your website, all of that evolves over time. There is not a single person who has all the answers the day they start.
Exactly. And ultimately, the goal is to learn it from whoever, maybe your coaches, your mentors, maybe your peers, but ultimately figure out what works with you. And that's really the journey in figuring out what works with you. And I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because a lot of times entrepreneurs are stuck not taking action because they think they have to do it the perfect way. They have to do it as somebody else is doing, but that's really not the goal here. And that's not how you develop a business. So
I think that is a kind of hangover those of us who come from the corporate world have. Right? Because in the corporate world, you have to prepare a 6-month and a 1-year plan or a 5-year plan beforehand. And that's when you get money allocated to the project. And honestly, in the startup world, in the tech startup world especially, or what the world knows as the startup world, it's the same way. You create a plan, you create a business plan, you go pitch to VCs, you put a small team together, you work for 3 years out of your garage. And then maybe by the year 5, you get more funding, or you get bought out, or you
close the shop.
Yeah, I don't want to say close shop. Because we are so used to that structure. For those of us who come from the corporate world, it takes a lot of unlearning to let go of that structure and to create our own.
Yes. So you mentioned unlearning, and I like that term because I also run a mastermind in which that's basically what we're doing, is revealing ourselves and figuring out ourselves and how to express ourselves by actually peeling the layers of the onion. And then a lot of it is unlearning more than learning. I mean, there is learning, but once you get that different perspective, you realize, oh my goodness, where I was like 5 months ago, what I was thinking just isn't right. So what are some of the unlearnings that you have had in your journey that you had to do?
Where do I start? Now, I think the biggest unlearning for me personally is letting go of perfection.
That's a big one.
Letting go of planning, letting go of structure. I am a Virgo, an A-type personality. I need to have everything planned out, everything in my MPP, laid out. But being a mom, and now being a single mom in business, working from home, handling not just business, not just clients, but everything else around the house, around parenting, etc., means that I do not have control over my time.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot predict when my son is going to fall sick. I cannot predict when he's going to be weepy and he wants mommy in the night. Or I can't predict when school is going to have an off day for no reason, right? And I can't predict, like we just moved into our own house 2 months ago. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't predict when I'll have seepage issues or plumbing issues. And I have to spend the day chasing a carpenter or a plumber. And with that, having to juggle all of that, having to handle all of that, and having to handle the changes in my business has taught me to trust the process, to trust my intuition, to go with the flow, to
Mm-hmm.
not have to be right always, to be open to experimenting and learning along the way.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one because a lot of my tribe members, they are perfectionists. And we
Yep.
come from a place where we used to, exactly, me too, we used to take pride in being like that. So that was a big
Yes.
unlearning for me as well. And
Exactly.
and in your case, it sounds like because you're a single mother, because you just moved into a new house, there are so many moving factors that some of us may not even have. So for us who don't have that, we have no excuse. If you got on board with it, we all need to get on board with it. So you did mention that you are a single mother now, right?
Yes.
If I may ask you that, because I know your journey, and I think it's a very inspirational journey that women need to hear, and a lot of my tribe members are women. How did you go from that abusive relationship that you mentioned to here, and what did you have to find within yourself the courage? What was it like? Because you were also running a business in the meantime.
So again, I wouldn't know where to start on this. In my corporate days, in my professional life, in my career, everyone knew me as, the go-getter, the overachiever, the perfectionist. I had everything sorted and I was always given the impossible projects to do. Uh, I got married late by Indian standards. I got married at 29. And things kind of went downhill after the first year. For the first couple of years, I kept beating myself up. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I pissed him off. Maybe, I'm not a good enough wife. Maybe I'm not being a good enough mother. Maybe I'm doing things wrong. And honestly, that's what most women do. There's a term for it that I later found out called gaslighting. In abusive relationship, they get you to believe that you are the one who's wrong. And over that time, over the first couple of years of my marriage, I was cut off from all my friends.
Wow.
I was cut off from society, in that on the surface, everything looked fine. He was a very good husband in the eyes of society. My parents loved him. All of his friends doted on him. And in our personal life, it was the words he chose, the way he behaved. The first few years, it wasn't physical abuse. It was more mental and emotional, chiding me for everything I did, that I didn't keep house properly, that I didn't cook properly, that my friends were bad, that I was worthless, that I thought myself too much, too less, whatever. And there was a phase in 2010 when I was at rock bottom, to the extent that I had lost my voice.
Like physically?
Not physically, as in I would open my mouth and I couldn't talk. The words would never come out. They would get stuck in my head.
Wow.
At that time, I remember I was in between jobs. The ex had started a gaming lounge and I was supporting him in the back end, getting his Facebook page, his internet marketing, his website, etc. So I have to thank him for that. He got me started on this whole internet marketing journey. I handled all of that for him, and that's where I learned. But at one point, he made me quit my job as well. And I realized once I got into the business with him that we weren't making money. We were losing a shit ton of money and there was no money coming in. And I had to go back and look for a job. So I went to an interview with Nokia, which was still a big name at that point of time in the mobile space. And in this interview, I'm sitting across from this person and he's asking me questions and I can't answer. The voice just won't come up. And he asked me, why do you think you'd be good for this position? And I'm like, I manage a squeak. I don't know. it was that bad. And at that point, a friend threw me a lifeline, a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Uh-huh.
He insisted that I go and buy it immediately. I never told her what was going on. I couldn't process what was going on with me, but she was senior. She kind of figured something's not right. She told me to get that book, and I did. And then I signed up for a couple of other courses. I did an Art of Living program. I did a Landmark program. And for me, at that point of time, they felt like a lifeline because it made me see that, it made me take responsibility for my situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, that was the start of the end. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but yeah, after that, I got to seeing that, it wasn't my fault that he's treating me that way.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to take responsibility for his behavior, but I can take responsibility for my responses.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got another job in Pune and I moved to Pune. I hoped he wouldn't follow, but he did follow. And well, things went from bad to worse. I used to have a lot of health problems. For 6 months, I had eye issues. I had to put eye drops in my eyes 6 times a day for about a year. I had breathing issues. I couldn't talk properly. I had migraines. I had a back pain for about a year from my neck through my shoulder, and I couldn't use my hands properly. And the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I knew that it was stress. They thought it was stress because of the job. I knew it was stress because of the relationship. He ultimately left about 6 months after I quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent most of 2015 crying
Mm-hmm.
and just barely managing to tread water and keep, pay the bills. Because being a single mom in India is not, getting divorced is not accepted. Being a single mom is not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2015, a couple of strangers, again, threw me a lifeline. I started getting involved in the world of woo, learning to trust myself, doing a lot of healing work, energy healing work, learning to build my intuition. And I started hanging out in such groups. And what I found was in getting that strength to heal and to grow myself, I was also able to better support women on their own personal journey.
Yes.
Even though the work I did was about websites and business strategy, what I was really supporting them in was in believing in themselves, in trusting themselves, in having the courage to be themselves and show up unapologetically as themselves.
Right.
So though I call myself a business strategist, though the work I do is strategy and launches and websites, underlying all of that, the common theme in all of that is helping them trust themselves, believe in themselves, and go out and make more impact.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting because with a lot of women and men too, to some degree, but definitely women, so many times we are expected to behave in a certain way. And I grew up in India too, so definitely culture has a big impact on it too. But even in the US, I live in the US, I have seen that there too, that the conditioning is such that women do not see their worth. They do not accept their worth. I used to teach people how to negotiate a salary, and the biggest...
Oh yes, that's a big one.
Exactly. And the biggest issue that I had to teach them wasn't really the strategy. It was really that you are worth it. You are worth even asking for it. Like people wouldn't even ask. And even in business, that's exactly what we are doing. Like our work is a little bit similar from that point of view, that I am teaching people the same thing, that you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your intuition. You have to be confident in who you are. And it's much easier said than done, because I have my own journey of overcoming others' judgment and fear of how I would be seen, fear of failure, things like that. But your story is so inspirational for me, and I'm sure a lot of our Bridgewalkers are going to take inspiration from it. And it sounds like you grew spiritually from that experience too. And it's your choice to grow, right? As a soul, we have a choice to grow or be. I mean, you could have easily said, I could be here and still would take the abuse, or but you chose that, no, I'm going to find my confidence, I'm going to find my voice back, I'm going to cure myself or heal myself. So congratulations, first of all, on choosing to heal, and that itself is very inspirational. But how did this journey now helps you in your business, like for you as an entrepreneur, not just your clients that you explained, but how does it help you show up as yourself in business?
So before I jump to that, I want to just talk about something that you just said, that the cultural upbringing in India for girls, for women, conditions you that way. But in my experience, I mean, over the last couple of years, I've worked with women from across the world. I don't have clients in India. All of my clients are abroad. Okay. And every single one of them, whether it's America, whether it's Australia, whether it's Europe, I find that the issues that women deal with, the conditioning that we've been subjected to, is pretty much the same. It doesn't matter if you grew up in LA or New York or Washington or India or Africa. The issues that we deal with as women, the conditioning that we have to unlearn as women, is the same the world over.
Yep, it is.
And now to get back to how has it helped me in my business? I think they're all interlinked. You know, when you go through a shitty situation, when you're at ground bottom, I found that is usually the turning point for you to make big decisions. And those decisions are usually becoming independent, which in today's world means starting a business.
It does. Freedom. No matter what job you have, there is no security.
Yes, the freedom to be yourself. All of that freedom only comes from a business, not from a job. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when you're at rock bottom and you want that freedom and you want that independence, people turn to starting a business. And also, in recovering from that rock bottom, you need some kind of emotional support. You need some kind of support. Mm-hmm. And that is emotional. And usually in today's world, we don't quite get that from family much. It triggers a journey of self-exploration, and a journey of self-exploration usually leads to spirituality, healing, and understanding that you are one with the universe. Mm-hmm. All those roads, all those paths from rock bottom, if this is rock bottom, you'll find multiple paths. The path of entrepreneurship, the path of pure spirituality, with some overlaps in between, and they will always converge together at the end. That is making you a better, stronger version of yourself, or taking you further along your spiritual journey, your soul journey. They all add up.
They do. And I'm so glad you mentioned it, because the work that you do in the one exposes you to growth in the other path as well. So entrepreneurship is such a great tool for spiritual growth, and spiritual growth obviously shows up in your business, and you start making more money, you start showing up more confidently, things like that. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. Now, I know you are a Bridgewalker too, because you started as an engineer and then you now do this. Your approach is very soulful. So did you ever have this fear of judgment? Like, how would people perceive me? Like when you started including your soulful approach?
So, for the first 2 years I ran my business, I never shared stuff on my personal profile or to people who knew me in my corporate life. I never told them that I started copywriting or that I started web design. Uh-huh. So I didn't have, I had that fear of being judged so strong that I never even shared what I was doing, right? I left a high-paying, high-flying corporate job with NVIDIA to do what? Write articles for Udemy. And I was thoroughly embarrassed. But I think about a year or so ago, I started sharing my journey, my personal journey. And I don't go out of my way and say, I'm a woo, I'm an empath, I am this, I'm that. Okay? I don't use those labels, but most of the people who work with me have seen me around in those groups. They know that part of my journey. They know my superpowers or woo powers. Uh-huh. Right? And they know and when they see me on my Facebook page, on my personal profile, there I talk the business stuff. And in these Facebook groups, which are safe spaces, I talk about the woo stuff. And they see how I'm able to balance these. So they come to me, they're drawn to me to help them balance it out. I don't have to go out and say that I do both.
Right.
Talk about the different things in the different places. But I think if I were to say on my Facebook profile that I'm an empath or I can tune into your energy, I think all people who knew me from my corporate days would freak out or think I've lost my mind. And that's okay. I don't care about that anymore.
Right. You're clearly built a good business based on that too, because you're clearly using. So what are your woo powers and how do you use that in your business?
Again, I think I call myself pretty much a novice on that journey. While I work with energy, I haven't been able to categorize or classify my woo powers. I'm an empath, I'm intuitive, I tune into my clients' energies and I can give them exactly what they need. Some would say not clairvoyance, but
claircognizance?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so knowing
I just know. Like yesterday I ran a boot camp which helps women who have been stuck in startup for way too long, who feel like they've been going around in circles for too long and want to really take their business to the next level. So I ran a 3-month boot camp for that, and we have weekly calls for it. Just yesterday, we were reviewing their emails and their funnels. And I didn't realize it that when I'm reviewing their copy or their webpage, I often close my eyes. And someone remarked, "You write better copy with your eyes closed." And that is just another way. When I close my eyes, when I'm able to tune in, not just to my clients, but to their clients. And I know what they want, my clients. And that is what my clients find so amazing. They're like, "How did you know that? How can you tune into them so well when I've been struggling to do it for so long?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are your superpowers then. That's the question. Yes. You answered my question. That you work with your clients and intuitively know what's the right next step for them, what it is that they should write or say. And that's very useful in the work that you are doing, tapping into that intuition, and you are claircognizant, clairsentient. Clairsentient also means, guys, feeling. So when she says she's an empath, that means she's feeling the emotions of other people. So you can tap into it, and that's a really great tool for any business strategist.
Yeah, and the best part is through my clients being able to tap into the energy of their clients. And because honestly, that's what any good business strategy is based on. Knowing your target market. Understanding their emotions behind the scenes, behind what they're verbally telling you.
It's very interesting because the way I use I'm also claircognizant and I channel, but the way I do it or use it in business is I see the person behind the veil. So I don't as much tap into their client's energy as much as I tap into their energy. And I'm more, but not like empathic way. I understand. I just quickly know what they're saying, but what they actually mean, right? So I'm able to remove their fears much faster. And you are clearly tapping into one step further in their clients and figuring out their copy based on that.
So with me also, that's how it started. When people filled out my discovery form, right, which is just 1 or 2 lines about everything, I could instantly know the real story behind it. When they're saying these words, this is what they actually mean. And I still do website reviews. I still do websites and create websites because for a lot of people, that is the starting point for their online business, right? And when I do website reviews, I can tap into my client's energy, what they were thinking, what they were experiencing, how they wanted to show up when they created that website. So I believe something like last year or last August or something, someone called me the website whisperer. And I was like, yeah.
I like that. I like that description too.
But then other clients have called me the client whisperer. Somehow I just know what their clients want.
So you are the business strategy whisperer.
Yeah.
Everything that goes into the business strategy, you will be
Yes.
the whisperer.
Yeah. And I haven't found a good way to package it all together because I can help them through everything from the energetic, the mindset, the strategy, the tech.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing in the More Bootcamp. That's what I do in my website bootcamp.
Mm-hmm. So this is very interesting because a lot of people are in the same boat that they have so many different talents and they're not really sure how to package it.
Multi-passionate, yes.
Right, multi-passionate, exactly. So they're not really sure how to package it. When you are packaging it already, but you said you are not completely there yet, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about that as an experience as to how you started doing it and where do you want to go? Because I want people, my tribe, to know that the journey never stops. Like you just keep getting better and better and better. So where were you and where you are now? Because I bet when they see your website, they're going to think like she has everything together. And here you're saying, I could be better, right?
Yeah, there's always room for improvement. We are perfectionists. We are recovering perfectionists. So I think, my response to that would be, here's the thing, when you're starting a business out of a passion, out of a purpose, you are going to find that as soon as you turn it into a business and you put yourself out there and start doing it, there are going to be parts of it that you like and parts of it that you don't. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see other ways in which you can improve yourself or other avenues in which your skills might be more useful. Trust that path, trust that process, and go along with the flow. I started copywriting and tech writing because it was the easiest thing for me to do with a 5-year-old in a shitty marriage just when I was leaving my corporate job. It was easy. I could do it with my eyes closed. Mm-hmm. But I didn't tell anyone about it because I was embarrassed. It was a step down from my corporate job. And in no way did it utilize all of me or all of my skills.
Right.
But it was okay for me to do that then because that is what I needed at that point of time. A business that I could run, with 10% of my brain power. Right? And moving into web design again was not a conscious choice. I saw people making mistakes that I knew I could easily fix and I could easily help them with. And I felt the pull to do it. And then from there, again, I felt the pull. You know what? Now I think I've healed. Now it's time for me to start stepping into my power. And I know I can do so much more than websites. Heck, I have so many years of program management and coordination and all of that. So what I did in the corporate world was they would put me into all kinds of random projects that were impossible, that no one else wanted. And I would find a way to make order out of that chaos and structure that project and create a plan for it, and then help people actually execute that project. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I'd been doing that since like 2005 or 2006. And so I started using that and my copywriting and my web design and my internet marketing experience to help women do the same thing, to make sense out of the chaos of their lives and their business right now, to come up with a solid business idea out of those 1,000 ideas in their heads, and figure out the easiest and most efficient path to make it happen. So I'm doing the same thing I did 10 years ago. Then it was in a corporate context for tech projects, and now it's in the business context for women solopreneurs. Mm-hmm. It's an evolution. It's a journey. Each person has to go through their own journey.
Right. And
whether it's someone like Richard Branson or Marie Forleo or Elizabeth Gilbert, they've all been through their journey.
Yes.
They didn't start out being who they are today.
Right. And that's such a common theme between all the entrepreneurs that I'm chatting with, that you start with whatever feels right to you at that time, and then you just evolve. Don't wait to start and don't wait to act. Take simple actions. And this is why it is important, because you are going to evolve anyway, and you're going to figure it out, and it's going to change anyway. So the more you delay starting your business, more you're delaying living that purpose. So don't do that, guys. This is our constant reminder in the Weekend Academy that take action, take small actions. That's what is going to move you further. So this is a great example of that.
If I may add something, I've found that once they've been in business a year or two, their passion, their purpose also changes.
It does.
Sometimes it might feel like a 180-degree turnaround, but if you really step back and look at it, it's not a turnaround, it's not a change, it's an evolution.
Yes.
You did this for a while and you developed your skills, and then you find that this is no longer sufficient for the level, for the new you, for the level that you've come to.
Exactly.
And then it's time for change again. And so you keep changing, you keep growing, and your business grows along with you.
Exactly. And that's a good thing to have. It's not like you're giving up on what you were doing. You're just adapting to the new you, expressing yourself in a different, more impactful way. So that's
Imagine
basically
if the journey of evolution. Imagine if the fish said that it didn't want to evolve into an amphibian. Where would we be?
Exactly. That's a good example. Bridgewalker right there. Bridgewalker in action here.
So one of the things I do, in an online business, people assume that you have to have a course and have a passive income course where you send people through a funnel and they sign up and they get your course videos and you're done. You don't have to put in the work. But I don't like working that way. I found I work best when I get to tune into the energy of the people I'm working with. So I don't do passive courses. It's very easy for me to create videos and bundle up something and create a course. But instead of doing that, I find I work best when I'm running boot camps, which are small group programs where I have 10 to 20 women, and I walk them through either like creating their website or launching their course or taking their business to the next level. And because then when we get onto live group calls, usually twice a week, I can tune into their energy and provide them the right kind of answers, the right kind of solutions that they need. And I think the group programs, my boot camps, are perfect for those who can't quite afford or don't quite need that level of one-on-one support.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, as women, I found that we work best when we work together. There's a thing about women and the collective. I found that the women in my boot camps, when they are supported by that, a set of other women, whether it's 4 other women or 10 other women, when they are supported by other women, the transformation is so much more powerful than when they work with me one-on-one.
Yes.
It's a crazy thing to say because people say your one-on-one should be the highest priced or the deepest impact. But I have found that the best impact comes in these small groups. And that's why I continue to run boot camps. They are not the most efficient way of working because I have to put so much time and energy into it, but they are the most rewarding way of working. It brings about the deepest transformation for my clients, and it feels personally very rewarding for me to get on those calls every week and connect with them and help them. I'm always buzzing and on a high after those calls.
So this is an interesting point that Richa made, is she figured out what's the best way to work with her, because many people say that one-on-one is usually high ticket items. So you start there and then maybe you create passive programs, but she has figured out what works with her, which is small, intimate setting group programs. So another lesson for us in the Weekend Academy people, that we learn our business model ourselves. We decide what works with us, and that's the business model we create. So thank you for bringing that in.
You have to experiment and figure out what works for you. You can't go by a lot of programs, and people in the online business world say that I will teach you the 7 steps in how I made my 6 figure, or I will show you the 5 steps that all of my clients follow to make their 6 figures or their 7 figures. And it's only after you've signed up for many of these programs and burnt your fingers, you realize that if it worked for them, or if it worked for 10 of their clients or 100 of their clients, doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for me.
Right.
And you have to experiment, which is not to say that discard it. Go, try it out, experiment with it, and see what works for you.
Right. And that's why it's so important to strengthen our intuition, to understand and get the guidance ourselves, so that we tune into our own, who we are and our strengths to build the business that we love.
Absolutely.
One last question, second last question for you. If you have one lesson that you want to share with all these budding entrepreneurs in the Weekend Academy, in my tribe, what lesson do you have for them?
Trust yourself. Trust that you're supported. Trust that you're on the right path. Trust that you will make the right decisions. Trust that you will find your way no matter how crazy it seems at the moment. Keep at it. Don't give up. And in all of that, own your value, own your worth.
Say that again. Say it
Own
louder,
your
Richa.
value, own your worth. Because until you own your worth, until you own your intuition or your superpowers, until you own being everything that you are altogether, you will not be able to move forward.
Absolutely.
As long as you keep doubting yourself, you will keep playing small, you will keep hiding, you will keep thinking that things aren't working out for you. But when you stand up and trust yourself, when you stand up and trust your worth, and when you stand up to be unapologetically you, that's when the magic happens.
Thank you so much for saying that or sharing that. Thank you so much, because I think that's really the biggest obstacle for many entrepreneurs, women or not, but definitely women, is that they just don't trust that they have something great to offer. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for demonstrating it through your journey as well. So one last question for you. If people want to work with you, what is the best way to work with them, work with you? How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so the best way to get in touch with me or find out more about my work is to head over to my website, which is therichajain.com. Okay, we'll share the link along with this interview. And the second best place is to get in touch with me on Facebook, on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/therichajain. The way I work with people is through either one-on-one work. For those of you who are further along your journey, I would recommend one-on-one work. And for those of you who are getting started, I run a series of boot camps, which are a combination of mindset, strategy, and implementation work to help you through the next phase of your business. So if you're in startup, then I run a website boot. If you're just starting out, then I recommend a website boot camp where I help you get started, not just with the tech, but all the initial stuff you need to take your online business off the ground. And if you're further along that journey, if you've been trying things out for a little while, but it's not quite coming together, it's not quite growing the way you want, then I run something called the More Bootcamp, where I help women entrepreneurs, women solopreneurs make more impact, sign up more clients, and make more money.
And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that?
All of that information is on my website. There are a bunch of free webinars depending on where you are on your journey, as well as information about these programs. So you can just go and check out therichajain.com, and all of it is there.
And we'll share the links wherever we post this, anywhere in the description. We'll share all the links that Richa has. Go check out her website, guys. She's amazing at what she does. Her journey is very inspirational. You heard it already yourself. If you want to work with her, I highly recommend it. And the links will be included in the description. Check out her next bootcamp that's coming up. Thank you so much for being here today, Richa. It was a pleasure having you, and I'm so glad we could connect as I'm in India, because we were talking about it when I was in the US. So finally we figured out time, and we are both in the same time zone now. So it's amazing, and it's always good to connect with your people that you connect on Facebook, and I'm so glad to have you. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. So glad to be on, and happy to share my journey. It's taken me a long time. Again, people might see me smiling here. They don't realize the tears that went on behind the scenes back then. So I just want to share or say again that everyone has their own journey. Everyone will go through the ups and downs. Today I'm here and I'm able to share this journey without breaking into tears. Back in 2015, I hadn't even shared. For 1 year after the ex left, I hadn't even shared that he had left and I was now a single mom.
Wow.
But that is a journey. Irrespective of where you are, know that it does get better. Don't give up in your personal life, in your business. Keep at it.
Absolutely.
Walk your path.
Walk your path. Yes, that's right. We all have our path to just keep walking on that path. There is no better note to end this chat than this one. So we're going to say goodbye to you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.